Good morning. This is John Chen with your Engaging Virtual Meetings interview, and I got a super special guest with you. I got to always chime in about what's happening. Last week, I got back from my first in-person team building event in LA. We're at a beautiful resort called the Terranea. 240 of the top executives of this company, and I'm happy to report that in person still works, right? As much as I love virtual, it was high value, it was high stakes. We created a team building event that helped balance, three key cores with this audience, and they had never seen a team building program like the one that, of course, that we showed them, which I'm always excited about. And they walked away with it some really, really valuable lessons. So I love that the real world works, right? And I'm back here in the studio too. I also love that. I, of course, missed my part. I did do a presentation while I was on the road, and I only had two screens, and I've got to tell you, I felt like I was a little bit crippled. But it does show you that your remote setups are really something that you should think about and look at as we start to return to something that might equivocate itself to normal. Meanwhile, back on this track, right, I'm excited for our guest who we have here this week. She's an economist, an entrepreneur, an investor. She is known as the Quiz Queen, and I love that she has analytics as well as the engagement and the fun piece of what can we do to bring information as well as make our virtual meetings even more valuable. Let's welcome to the stage the one and only Catharine O'Leary. Catharine, what's up?
Oh,
How are you this beautiful morning?
I'm grand, thank you. It is a little chilly here in Toronto. But I kind of wish I was in LA with you at your resort. But it's the seasons are changing here and they change quick here. So we're into sweatshirts and hoodies and so on. But the leaves are changing, so it's pretty.
Well, part of my tech team is in Toronto, and one of my very good friends, I'm going to give a shout out to Trevor Louie, is one of the foodies in Toronto. You got to check his stuff out. He opened a little Asian section of downtown Toronto and exclusively has some foods I don't think you'll find in many other places in
Oh,
Toronto, but super
very
authentic.
cool.
So I'll make sure and let you know about that. Meanwhile, I got to, so you have like a world map, I think, behind your head.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
Yep.
really cool version. It's kind of like the flat version of the world, and I think it's actually in the correct perspective. Why did you choose that as a piece of art for you?
That's actually my father. My parents had that in their house for the longest time. It's part of my inheritance from the house. So it hung in my parents' place for the last 40 years, and for the last 5 years or so, it's been here. And every time I look at the virtual screen and you're looking at yourself, I see a little bit of my family behind me by having that picture there.
Aw, right. I love family is I love when family is a part of the strong values and that you bring a piece. What did I just recently have? Oh, we were talking about cooking. I have a bacon press, right? Which is like a heavy iron piece with a wood handle that you can use to make bacon flat. And we use it for everything now, like sandwiches, like a panini or whatever, like you just wait on it. That's from my mom. My mom gave me that. And,
Yeah.
and it came with two egg rings, right? Egg rings where you have a ring and you crack an egg in it and it'll make a ring like a egg McMuffin.
Yeah, egg McMuffins. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, wait, super trivia fact. Do you know where the egg McMuffin was invented?
I have had that piece of knowledge before, but I do not have it handy now.
Good, because I do, because my school, I went to UC Santa Barbara, which makes me a gaucho, and the city next to it, the college town, is called Goleta. And that McDonald's was made famous because he invented the Egg McMuffin. And actually, I think him and or his family still get a royalty, meaning that every Egg McMuffin, he gets like 1 or 2 pennies or something like that.
That's a sweet passive income. I like that.
Yeah, when you write the book of passive income, write down Egg McMuffin,
Egg
right?
McMuffin. Yeah, I mean, I would like that. Yeah, sign
You know,
me up.
You know what I love about it too? Like again, I see that you're an entrepreneur too, and I actually am teaching a class on creativity. That an egg McMuffin is really, I think, four products, right? It's a muffin, it's a egg, it's a Canadian bacon, and it's cheese, and that's actually all it is. And that genius combination of all those things gave a sandwich that people could eat on the go. Uh,
Yes.
and that has literally a sold like our family starts almost every road trip with one of these. It just shows what entrepreneur and innovation is.
And it's I don't know, there's like I've made them at home, but they're just not quite the same. I don't know what it is. They're runnier, they're messier. It's just there's nothing. Even up in Canada, we have a Tim Hortons, which is equivalent to Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
And they came out with their own version. I'm like, yeah, no, it's second. You're second to the party. Like,
Again, it's four ingredients, but how you source them, create them, and treat them makes that egg McMuffin. And you can now see the difference that you can't slap one together and go, it's the same, because it's not.
it's not, and that's what makes very similar products still unique.
Yes.
So whether you're coaching a business coach, you're still unique compared to everyone else. And just take it from the egg McMuffin.
Okay, that's the end of our live stream. Take it from the egg McMuffin. Now let's find out what's unique about you. All right, Catherine. So a few of my friends, of course, don't know who you are. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do, Catherine?
Well, thank you so much, John, for having me on, and thank you to your community for being on and being innovative and fun. Because that's who John is, and that's why I love hanging out. I'm Catharine O'Leary. I am known as the Quiz Queen. I didn't grow up wanting to be the Quiz Queen. I wanted to be the Wolf of Wall Street. Thought that was way cooler. So I went to business school, I went into corporate, and I became a market research and consumer insights specialist. Now, when I told my father what I was doing in his true Irish brogue, he looked at me with his, sideways glance and just, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, Catherine, if there's ever a made up thing like that, are you dealing drugs? Is that what you're doing? Because that cannot be real. No, not dealing drugs. All it market research, consumer insights, all it really is translating consumer wants, needs, desires and challenges into corporate ease, being product innovation, marketing campaigns, sales conversations. Corporate does that really well. They talk to their clients a lot and they spend a lot of money on it. I mean, our projects ran anywhere from $50,000 to $2 million for one project. And they do several projects a year. Yeah, no, and they build their products around those insights, and they take the marketing campaigns. Pepsi's great at doing it. Super Bowl, fantastic at doing taking consumer insights right into the market. It's something entrepreneurs tend to skip over, I would say, is that there's a bit of a missing link between the marketing strategies of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, speak to sell, networking. They tend to go straight into a sales page or a webinar training that has an offer at the end of it. There's no kind of conversation in there. There's no asking questions. I was the biggest culprit at this when I started my own entrepreneurial journey. I started in network marketing, and it was great products, great community. You traveled a lot, met some great people. But then reality started to hit it to sit. And I wasn't very good at lead generation. Like, actually, I sucked at it. It was terrible. And it was, throwing money at Facebook, hoping something would stick, the Facebook ads, trying to become an SEO expert overnight, which never works, by the way. It's just painful. Or sales conversations, endless hours and hours of sales conversations that really don't go anywhere because you're not talking to the right people. And that's just wasting your time and frustrating you. I remember, and I don't know if you felt this, John, but I remember the day when I just did not want to get out of bed again. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I just thought, holy crap. Like, as my father would say, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, what have I got myself into? I mean, I was bleeding money. Like, my business was not only making money, it was costing me money. And I just wanted to stay in bed with the covers over my head. And I did not want to get on one more phone call.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe corporate will take me back. Maybe that 3 hour a day commute that I was doing, I can do again. And then 5 minutes later, I realized, nope, not enough audiobooks in the world to make me get back in the car. It doesn't happen. So dug my heels in, and found, I figured there had to be a way. I mean, people were doing this. There had to be a way to plug that missing link between all this conversation about what my offer was into an actual conversation of selling it. And what I found was quizzes. So it's really that, that conversation, that starting with that hidden question of, the problem that you solve. You created an offer around it. Your target audience. You probably were your target audience at one point in time. You probably had this problem. So, that hidden problem, that problem that's keeping your best clients up at night, attract them in, and then have a conversation about that. Give them some insights about that, and then invite them to the webinar, to the training, now they're warmed up. Now they know you built that, authority, respect, and trust. You're a subject matter expert. Of course, they want to work with you because you just blew their minds with your insights and read their minds. And, oh my God, John, how did you know that, I need systems? Like honestly, and it's all in the way that you develop the quiz. And you can attract your best clients. There's no more tire kickers and freebie seekers. You can, increase your conversion rates. And it's all with just adding a conversation into what you're already doing. So I like to say that math is never wrong, but it can always be influenced. So you can always improve your numbers and so on. And that's what quizzes can do. So between market research, consumer insights, and again, no drug dealing, just to put it out there. I started doing quizzes for myself, started doing it for my friends, because, just like a great restaurant, you tell everyone about it, because it's the best, kept secret ever. And then I just, I started to develop quizzes and more, and it became my business, and I love it. Now I help entrepreneurs, attract the best, release the rest, because they're somebody else's best.
Well, there's something that's important in here. First off, a lot of things this is my 25th year of my own business, and I've gotten a chance to talk with a lot of entrepreneurs. And quite often, this thing that you said, right, saying you didn't find quizzes, they found you. Right. So a lot of times, another person gave me a great quote, and they said, sometimes when you don't find your dream, you find your destiny.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, you can keep that. That's one of my good friends from Tony Robbins. I think it's his McClendon, Joseph McClendon III, gave that. And it's actually, I think it's true for a lot of people who, nobody comes up and says, I want to grow up, I don't want to be a residential property manager.
Yeah, very rarely.
But I've spoken to, the Association of Residential, and they love the industry once they get in it. One, it's valuable. Two, it's needed. Three, it takes a certain kind of person. And so sometimes you go choose that. And I think it's like that. I think one day you just need to go to your amazing father, right, wherever he maybe is, and just tell him, is it like drugs? You should just say quizzes are like drugs.
They are. They're very addictive. They are. And once you do one, it's like you got to do another one. You got to take another hit.
And then I got to practice, either that or you should write your next book, and the book should be called Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. What I got myself into?
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. What the hell did I do?
Okay, I don't profess to be Irish, so that's my
no.
And it'd be a great book.
Or my great grandmother, when my father lived with her, as all older Irish generations tend to be, was a little catastrophic. Everything was catastrophic, right? So if you cross the road, something's going to happen, right? But it's not just you'll get hit by a car and you might get hurt. It's like, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, Michael, if you go across that road, you'll die. You'll die.
Okay, wait. Oh, shoot. The caption was here, and it said, Jesus, Maddie, and Joe. I'm trying to look at the auto captioner and see if it can. Yeah, Jesus, Maddie, and Joe.
Joseph.
Oh yeah, so try good luck transcriptor with that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
everything was ended up in you'll die, you'll die, you'll die, or you'll die,
oh
you know.
you'll die.
So that was another one of his. Yeah.
Um, so that leads me to a piece, though, that for a lot of entrepreneurship, that I really feel is that once you choose the path for entrepreneurship, at least once or more often, you get tested. And what I mean by you get tested is that it will make you at some point feel like you want to just lie in your bed, hold the covers, not get up, not do the thing that you're supposed to do, right? And so you get tested, and so because it would be at some point you got to go through the other piece and go, yeah, I want that other thing. I want that safety. Can I have the security? Can I just have a 9 to 5 job, right? And then it tests you, and then it says, do you really want that? Can you really settle now that you know what's on the other side? Do you really want that 4 hour commute again? Or do you want to live the way that you want to live? And like I said, to me, this is what I heard you say is like that test is such a key part to who you are because it made you find the thing that was the thing.
It did, and it was a test. I mean, like I being a senior director with Pepsi and a lot of the other Fortune 100 companies, that paycheck, that stability, that's the drug. That's what you get actually addicted to.
Yeah.
But I wanted to live where I wanted to live. I didn't want to live in the city. Everything outside of Toronto is at least an hour and a half, if not two, because of traffic. And I wanted to work virtually, and this was pre-COVID, and virtual wasn't an option.
It was
Um,
very difficult, right? You really
yeah.
need like an enlightened Zen manager to go to recognize
Oh,
that you could actually do valid work. Even if you were crushing it and all the numbers, they'd be like, nah, Catherine, you
yeah, no, you still have to come into the office. Yeah. Yeah. And it used to drive me bonkers because I'd worked for Apple and I've worked with for BlackBerry, and they both, and Google and so on, they all like, yeah, work from home, like, not all the time, even them at the time, but a lot more. So you have a little bit of that taste, and then it's taken away. And then you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own. And then you're like, holy crap, I'm not even going to be able to pay the mortgage, let alone the internet. How do I get myself out of this? But yeah, like entrepreneurship takes, you gotta want it, and it's going to test you. It's going to make you work.
All right. Speaking of work, right? I want to know like just one thing before we move on
Sure.
to like what you're doing now. Like for instance, Microsoft taught me about what I call pushing and popping. So I'm curious. I'm going to ask you in a moment, like, what's the one thing you think you learned from Pepsi? So pushing and popping is how I facilitate meetings, which is like, especially when you have a group meeting and they're a little bit on the random side, right? They love to take tangents. So pushing and popping was like we would take topics, right? And let's say we were talking about breakfast sandwiches. Now we got to push this topic of quizzes. Now we got to push this topic of Pepsi. We got to push this topic of Sweet Jesus, Mary, Joseph on top of that, and then you got to unpack them, right? You have to, if you're really great at it, as a program manager at Microsoft, you would unpack them and be able to go back to and still ask you the question, which is, okay, now how many Egg McMuffins do you want before the end of this meeting?
Right.
And so tracking. So that's what we call pushing and popping. What do you think is the one key thing that you learned from Pepsi that you take away today?
Pepsi was actually, so at the time Pepsi was run by Indra, so it was one of the few Fortune 100s that were run by a woman, and that was very different. Actually, you could feel that difference. So it was a lot of inclusion. It was a lot of there's a lot of, not, I don't want to say extracurricular because that's not right, but there was a lot of opportunities to get involved in the community and get involved even globally, with passion projects. That I think that was brilliant for employee engagement, to allow people to, if you wanted to work with, ensuring that the, disabled, got a bit, like, we're able to get the jobs on in the sales force or something like that. Like, what program can Pepsi put in place for autistic people? Well, We put a program in where, building the great during Super Bowl and so on, the great big huge displays, that spells out Dallas or spells out, all
Yeah,
in the Pepsi products.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like those kids, they love that. Like, they created it all, they figured out the structures. I looked at it and went, as long as it doesn't fall on anyone, I don't care. But it looks great. I can't figure out how you do it, but off you go.
Yeah, I think the one for Super Bowl 48 that I actually got to personally see because the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl and won, right? It was a Pepsi bracelet during
Yep.
the halftime performance where, based on your position in the audience, it actually built a Pepsi logo that moved around the stadium. That's
Yeah.
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So Pepsi had inclusion, and then it had they actually set aside 10% of their marketing budget for just try stuff, like the bracelets, like just try stuff, like the Doritos, the roulette, the Doritos roulette, the super hot, one chip that might be in like the bag that you get, and that you might actually bite into this Scotch bonnet thing from hell.
Ghost pepper. Yeah, go. Oh, yeah. So it was
Yeah,
like
the ghost pepper chip.
like flaming hot Cheetos.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So they were actually pushing innovation, but they really did listen to their customers.
Hmm.
And they asked all of their customers. So they'd ask teenagers, they'd ask people that from all walks of life. And they would listen to it all. And Indra was very, very involved in a lot of those decisions. So it was a lot of I guess a lot of communicating and a lot of questions all around, really.
I just want people to rehear that, which is like Indra is truly one of the few women CEOs and one of the few Asian Pacific Islander
Yep.
executives. By the way, the stats are we have twice the national average here in America of degrees of bachelor and higher, but we have half or less of the executive jobs. So Indra broke ground.
Yes.
And I love to hear from your side, like in a company, that her presence and her leadership had an impact right where you were. And I can tell you that from Microsoft, like Bill Gates had an impact. To this day, it's really challenging to have that kind of impact when your organization is 10,000 people or more. But from what I hear from you is that she had it.
She did, and I never met her. I never met her live.
Wow.
So like I felt that, and people would talk, like they'd say Indra wouldn't like that. Like it would be like first name basis, Indra wouldn't like, we can't do that. Indra won't like that. Like,
Yeah,
she'll see it and she will not like that.
you want to talk about metaverse people, right? That's the real metaverse. The metaverse is when you're having an influence and you're not there.
Yeah.
Satya Nadella is doing that at Microsoft right now because people are
Yes.
saying, even the young people are coming back to her going, oh no, I actually really believe Satya, and I really feel a difference. Right? Again, even though you're not interacting with this person every day, they're making decisions, policy, and culture that are having an impact.
It's a true leader and a true change management leader. That's like those are very specialized skills.
Yeah. Yes, and I don't think they're completely codified, meaning you couldn't just do one way at every
No.
company, right? It's just like you have to feel your way. There's something still a little magical, still a little analog about it.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking magical, I would love to hear what you're doing now, meaning that, what has to happen for a virtual meeting to be engaging for you? What are your quote unquote customers, which are your attendees to your virtual stuff, saying to you? I'd love to hear what your current point of view is, especially as we're here in 2022.
I think that we're at an interesting pivot point, and I'm not entirely sure where we're going to go. I think that people are very hungry to get back out live and get back into live events. And there's a little bit of oversaturation, I feel, on things like Zoom calls and group calls on Zoom and webinars and challenges and things like I feel, and I don't know if you feel this too, but it's almost like the next shiny object is just around the corner, and I'm not entirely sure maybe it's a hybrid of live and virtual that actually works, because right now, anytime that I've seen that try to work, it's been a little bit of a train wreck, to be honest. And like you can't throw a laptop into a room and claim that's a hybrid. The Zoom experience is terrible. Don't do that. Just tell people that you're not having a virtual event, please. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, please. But or you'll die.
Everybody will die.
You'll die if you do that. You'll die.
You will die, and you will die. Every attendee will click a button.
Well, they'll wish they died. Because it's really terrible. It's really not. It's not a good experience. You don't want to put your clients through that. Or you'll wish you died. But okay, that's enough of that. So I think that people are trying to figure out what the next thing is. I don't think it's going to be completely live. I don't think it's going to be completely virtual. I don't know how hybrid is going to work. I think it's an interesting, I think it's a game-changing moment. And I think that if you're open to the opportunities, we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm with you on that because here's a couple things that I see. Number one is you can get hybrid right, and it takes a lot of work, and that's why most people haven't done it right. Okay, so that's one. The second one is this. Right now, there is a heavy duty swing back to in person just because. I understand that we're humans, we want to connect. If we can do it safely, like again, I feel very fortunate. I went to LA. There's no mask mandates now for that. Even this company that was a health company, I don't know what exactly their protocol was, but there were not a lot of masks. But there is this desire, right? And I understand this desire, which is people waited, which was great, and now it feels or looks safe enough, right? The statistics can do that. So there's going to be the swing back to in person at any cost, by the way. And by the way, it's a huge increased cost. Like
Massive.
in person has been, and now even more is a super premium because of all the inflationary and supply chain costs.
But I think the pendulum is going to go whoop, like way up.
I believe it's going to go there, and this is what I think is going to happen. If I was to predict, is that after that hangover from the party comes back, and you write the check, and you go, for certain meetings, you go, we could just be virtual, and we could have gotten 90% of the stuff done, right? Again, we'll miss the bar and the party and stuff like that. How much do we want? Do we want to pay $1 million or more for that, right? And so sometimes you would say yes. And sometimes you would say no. And sometimes you could say, okay, well, let's do the both so we now know it's possible so we can bring that. That's where sometimes the hybrid comes in. Anyways, I think you'll see the pendulum swing in person, which is what's happening even for myself personally. And then people are going to come back and swing back and then hopefully recognize what's the right vehicle for the goal that I have. It's like what you were saying, like you got to ask all these questions to like, what does people really want? If it's a transfer of information, it can actually be done pretty well on virtual. If it's relationship building or something else deeper or more complex, then maybe that in person is worth it. And so, anyways, it'll swing back. And then after that, I think there's something like I think I hear you saying, which is there's something we haven't thought about yet. This is the 10%.
I think that this is the 10% that Enjoy would say, go play. Go play with virtual like maybe it's the metaverse, maybe it's like having meetings in like the metaverse. I don't know. I don't think I could wear those glasses for like 8 hours. I think I'd die. But I'm
gonna let you keep it. You should keep that. It's great. I would do it for everything, right? Hold on, I'm trying to think of like something. Oh, augmented reality. These glasses.
Yes.
I put these glasses on, then I died.
Well, for 8 hours. I mean, that's a long time.
I can't even wear my own glasses for 9 hours.
Exactly. And if I can't see, I die. So, like, I mean, it's terrible. I don't know if that's going to be the solution or not. But I think you're right. I think this is the 10% of try to figure it out. Like, I mean, it can't be just Hollywood Squares sitting there writing notes and that's, hey, look, like we've come a long way and we had to, and like, COVID forced us to. And I mean, I was already preaching from like the choir to say, I don't understand why you were spending all this money on real estate when everyone can work from home. It took COVID and to convince people of that, and they're still not convinced. I don't know what corporate is doing, honestly. But I think virtual needs to change. I don't think it can stay the same and
No.
still be engaging. I think people are just getting bored. I think they're getting bored with webinars and trainings and masterclasses, the way that they're being done. I think that there's some gamification that needs to probably happen without being like, Family Feud style, stuff, although that'd be fun too. Just as long as nobody dies. Yeah, there might be gamification, there might be augmented reality. There's probably some technology that's coming that will make it a little more engaging, and a little more. I think that there's a connection. There's got to be more of a connection. It can't, like, the transfer of information is great, but how do you get a little bit more of that connection and a little bit more of that hallway conversation or that bar conversation? But not all the time. I don't think live events are ever going to go away for as long as we can have them, because we lost them for a while, and we won't let that happen. I think you're right. I think there's a time and a place for that.
Okay, so I was back in LA for this too, and this, for me, like I'm having this. We're having a celebration dinner because we really there were a team of 9 of us who rocked this event, right? Everyone had to play a part, and so we got to celebrate afterwards. Now, here's the best part. I was sitting there, was thinking about, is saying we're at a table of 9 people, and you know how like a conversation migrates through the night. At a table of 9 people, it's a long table, right? And okay, people who were at my meeting now, I sat purposely in the center,
So you
right?
could
Because
pivot.
yeah, so I can pivot, right? So that I can get the most amount of connection while we're doing this. And I was having a conversation with the person across from me, and I said, I want to take this moment right now. And there's blaring conversation, plus there's bar music, plus there's like 20 other tables that are near us. And I said, right now, what we're doing and having this conversation where you can hear me clearly understand, even though there's all this other stuff is happening, can only happen in the real world currently, cannot happen on Zoom. And she goes, oh, say more. And I said, well, problem is like left or right here. See, you can hear these conversations right now, but the way that spatial hearing and we as humans work, like I can tune all that out.
Mm-hmm.
While I still have it in the background, I can still monitor actually this person's conversation on my right, maybe even hear what the topic is. But I can also choose to ignore it enough that I'm having a real connection,
Mm-hmm.
real content with this person. And then later on, I can speak to the whole table. Like later on, if I shift my focus, right, maybe ding my glass or whatever, I can bring everyone's focus and attention and speak to all 9 people. And so this is like the real world version of breakout rooms. I'm saying I want virtual's audio capabilities one day to match what happens in the real world, because that's what was happening. Again, I could have a conversation to my left, a sidebar. I could have across the table. I could have to the right, even sometimes kitty corner, even though people are talking through like this. And those are all the things. You can create a
But you
breakout
can't do that with breakout rooms, right?
No,
Because
no,
you
no, no.
don't hear the other breakout room. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And some people are making this technology. Like I've tried some of them, but all of them are very subpar to a real human. Like
Yeah.
that's the experience I have to compare it against.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask this before I do. We're close to closing question. That have you written a quiz to ask people what's next?
To ask people what's next, like what they want next. And I have not. Well, sorry. I've written surveys like that. So I've written for corporate like that. So when HP was revamping their entire lineup of printer portfolio, I asked a lot of questions like that, and I asked it in 8 different countries and 9 different languages.
My brother was an HP employee, and I
Yeah.
to this day still use an HP Page with Enterprise printer.
Yep. Yep. So I have asked those questions. I have not asked them in a quiz. They tend to, those types of questions tend not to lead to an offer. So they're not so much a business question.
Yeah.
They tend to be more exploratory, and honestly, exploratory is probably better in a group setting where you are live, like a focus group or some sort of an in-depth interview or something like that. To be fair.
Okay. And best quiz you think you wrote over the last 2 years?
The best quiz, my own. No.
Oh, right. So there's a link inside of here, right, that goes to your website. Your website is quizformybiz.com, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's actual takes to the quiz. I think one of the ones that I'm working on right now is actually for You Are My Light Foundation, which is an educational quiz around um the um the effects of human trafficking and sex and labor
Yep.
slavery.
Yep.
And the foundation is actually building healing centers. So it's kind of like what happens after the rescue. Like how do they get the not normally the medical, but the psychological, the spiritual help that they need to be able to, reassimilate into society. Because unfortunately, most survivors of trafficking only survive for about 7 days before they either go back or they commit suicide.
Ugh.
So there's a real need for these healing centers. So that quiz I've been working on with Orly Moore, and that's been pretty good, pretty cool.
Let me. I'm going to make this offer to you, Catherine. So our chapter of MPI, Meetings Professional International,
Mm-hmm.
was the first to sign the code, which is our whole chapter stands for against people who are traffickers for the victims, and it was landmark. We are actually the first MPI chapter in the world. I
Mm-hmm.
know I have a person on who's our membership who is super passionate about this. If that is a connection you would like, okay?
I love that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. We didn't rehearse this. I would actually like to take your quiz on air. Can we do it?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's take a quiz on air. See, because you said 60 seconds, right? Let's find out. Click here to start the quiz. I'm going to take this quiz live. Which follow describes your current quiz experience? Okay, I'm an intermediate. Okay. What's the following describes? I am a coach, a consultant, a speaker. I am an author, a course creator, and I'm probably another. Please specify. I'm just sometimes amazing. All right, next.
And
Which
humble and humble.
and humble. Oh, yeah, humble. Jesus, Mary. Primary business. My primary business right now is as a consultant. That's probably what I get the most from. What marketing strategies do I use? Check all that apply. I do have a website. I have very little paid ads. I'm not even going to check that. Organic for sure. Speak to sell for sure. Summit, okay. Podcast, sure. YouTube, okay. Facebook networking. Joint venture partners. Nah, I probably get some other. Um, I'm gonna do the military thing. I do some stuff.
And if I told you I'd have to kill you and then you die,
I say, oh, you would die.
you'd die.
Which of the following lead magazines do you follow use? Assessment, audio recording for sure. Book, yes. Checklist, yes, I do that. Challenge, I talked about it, but I haven't done it. PDF training, no. Discovery call for sure. Masterclass, not quite. Quiz. I'm actually not using a quiz. So, Catherine, I would like to figure out how to put a quiz in my business. I'm going to click
Perfect.
webinar, even though I would never do a webinar. It's because it's really video trainings. I should say, yikes, what's a lead magnet? But let's talk about brand, baby. What is my number one lead generation priority? Money. Leads, more qualified leads. Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, right? At this stage of my life, I'm fully happy to say I need leads that turn into money. We're entrepreneurs. If we want to do more of the work that we want to do, we need amazing paid clients, all right, like you. What would having a killer lead magnet mean to your business? More time, more money, more awareness, growth, revenue. Yeah, okay, this is an easy one. Let's just continue on all these. And here we go. Okay, and so now you're going to send me a report. Hopefully this will, and continue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's what this means. Video with you. Quizalicious. Register. Okay, so there's a free training. So now there should be an email that should be in my box eventually here. Is that right?
Yep.
Gotta wait for email. Hopefully it'll come in time on air. Okay, let me click my other button here. Scrolling to the top of my inbox. Tiffany, achieve. Sententia. Okay, it's not here yet. You know, the worst part, I should have actually sent it to my Gmail address too, because sometimes my corporate email thingamajig filters.
Oh, okay.
So Okay, so I'm going to hunt for this in just a second. I'll ask you this question. I'll bring it up if I can get it in time. So
Okay.
cool. The quiz is very short, very easy. And then, you saw my responses though. What would you predict that would be in my report?
So you are at a place in your business where you're creating systems. So it's all about systemizing, making sure that your automations are working, making sure that you are on autopilot. So a quiz is able to plug into a system you already have or a system that you're creating to be able to tag the people as what I do in the quiz that you just took is I'll tag you based on the fact that you checked speaker, author, coach, consultant. And now I've got you tagged in my email sequence or in my CRM. So every time that I have a speaker conversation going on or a speaker affiliate offer or anything like that, I'll send it to all speakers. I'll send it to all coaches. I'll send it
Oh,
to
yeah,
all authors.
yeah.
So the quiz, so the way that it works is that in all my conversations going forward now, I'm going to talk about the fact that you are looking to create systems and be on autopilot.
Yep.
If you had been all about just leads and building your email list, that's what I would have talked about. If you would have been about building your brand and being a subject matter expert, that's what I would have talked about. So I'm meeting you exactly where you are in the journey of building your business through client attraction. So it's 3 different ways to do it in this particular quiz. That's how I built it.
Beautiful. All right, I look forward to my report. And by the way, you can do the exact same thing as well as get some key information. Oh, Deborah Eckerling is just saying, I just took the quiz too. So
Yay, Deborah.
thanks, Deborah. All right, closing question, right? So we kind of asked it. I would love to see maybe around this field too.
Okay.
Again, I love your 10% to fail faster. That to me is what helped me survive the last 2 years was the permission to fail faster than anybody else.
Yep.
And I love that Google does it too. You're like 10 or
Yep.
20% of your time on some pet project. All entrepreneurs should be doing that too. It will help you discover what the next big thing is. What do you see in the future of virtual meetings? What are we talked about some of the other things. What do you think might be some other things? If you could dream, if you could have a wish list, what would you love to see in virtual meetings in the future?
Well, it's kind of like Star Trek-ish, but almost like that hologram room, where you're like, you actually like it feels like it's 3D and it feels like you're in the bar or you're in and it simulates all of that. Yeah. That sound and it's, surround sound and just every house just has this hologram room or whatever you call it so that like it's your office, but it's your Zoom meeting. And you can be Tony Stark and flipping the things around and making things go up and down and building stuff with just your fingers in the air. But I think that something like that. I don't know if that's too far out in the future, actually.
Again, I built this, right? And again, very few people would ever build anything as crazy as this. And this is like my miniature version of the holodeck. And I'm
Yeah.
with you on that, which is in the holodeck in Star Trek, if you're not a fan of Star Trek, is that you open a door, you close into a room, and imagine this room is like a 10 by 20 room, and that somehow or another that without a headset,
Yes.
it replicated an entire environment, people, right? Some of them could have been live with you, but most of them are computer generated. And it would also do things like smell. I have a friend I was just talking to that she bought a vineyard that grows Concord grapes for Welch's grape juice.
Yep.
And she says, when I open that door, there's nothing that can replicate the smell of the grapes in October as they're just at the right point on the vine. They actually emit something in all the air when you have a vineyard.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so,
it's kind of like your 3D printer meets hologram or some sort of projection technology. I think it's going to have to be more interactive. I think it's going to have to simulate live. I still don't think it's going to take the place of live, but it may take the place of super expensive, like everyone go to Australia live.
Yeah. And so spending a portion of your time, just like spending a portion of time virtual here at your computer, which is, we go to these beautiful places too. Okay, I said I was in Terranea. Like, this is a super expensive, like on Mother's Day, a hotel room costs $900. And what do people do? They sit by the pool that has this glass wall that has the ocean, right? The Pacific Ocean out of it. And what are they doing? Staring at their phone. It is so sad, right? Like all of us who are kind of like in the 40, 50 range are seeing the 20 somethings just staring at their phone when like literally this is one of the best views on the planet, in the world. And what are you doing? You're looking at your phone.
Yeah.
So you're already doing it anyways, is what I just want to tell everybody.
Well, and that brings up a good point, because for you and I, maybe the future looks a little different. I mean, for my niece and nephew, like 7 and or 9 and 6, I got no idea. Like, I mean, they sit at the dining room table and text each other and they're sitting beside each other. Like, I mean, it's like, what are you doing? But their whole mode of communication and the way that they're growing up is completely different. And I don't know what they're going to create. Like, I mean, I can't even envision what they're going to do when they start their Google and their Microsoft and whatever that looks like. Like their context and their frame of reference is completely different to anything that I could even comprehend.
Catherine, you'll love this, which is like, now we're telling them the same thing that we were told as children.
Oh, 100%.
If you don't put those 2 phones down, you're going to die.
You'll die. You'll die. That's fine.
And then,
don't do it.
And then the worst, I mean, the part that I got told was video games.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
You're going to melt your brain, right?
Yeah.
And now those video game skills for me allow me to move faster through a computer than virtually anybody else.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see, like, they could probably, work completely on a phone, in the future because they've grown up with it so much.
Well, the laptop is what the desktop is to us. It's archaic and old and heavy and ridiculous. A tablet is like, okay, if I have to. And the phone, they can actually, like, they zip through and they're copy and pasting and then they're in Canva and they're in this. And I'm just like, oh, wow, you just did a whole day's worth of work, like sitting waiting for the bus.
Yeah. All right. Well, Catherine, thank you so much. Where can people find you again?
Quizformybiz.com.
Excellent. Catherine, thank you so much for sharing you and everything that's going on. Everybody, make a quiz and add that as to one of your pieces that can help you in your business, big or small. I'll leave the other key messages, which is give 10% of your time to fail or try new things and listen to your customers. That sounds simple, and it's so easy at different times to not pay attention to the one thing that really matters, which is what do your customers want? Right, Catherine?
Exactly. Yep.
Cheers. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thanks.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm John Chen. I'm just going to close this engaging virtual interview. Again, we've been talking with Catharine O'Leary, economist, entrepreneur, investor, and the quiz queen. So thank you so much. I look forward to you. Post your quizzes here in the comments. I'd love to take it and see what you're doing because I got to get busy now and got to make my own. So, hey, we'll see you next time. By the way, I hope you come to my conference October 18th through the 22nd in 2022. I got some free tickets in the link there, and we've got some VIP tickets, which I think you want because we're going to help you keep up to date for this next year where none of us are able to predict what's going to happen here on virtual. Oh, thank you for the hearts there, Deborah, and whoever's watching online. We'll see you next time.
Don't we start people and keep old people? Show you got heart.